Welcome to Keep Sweet, the Positive World podcast. I am your host, Joshua Gonzalez, and on today's episode, I am joined by the one and only...
Matt Tolbert is my name.
We need to work on cue pickup here at the Positive World podcast, but...
It's like at our wedding when they were like, Matt, do you do?
Oh, yes, you did take a moment to say that you did.
I just wasn't quite sure if it was my turn yet.
Okay, sure. So on today's episode, we are going to have a fun little chill chat with me and Matt. Look at me spitting bars already at the top of the podcast.
Chill chat with me and Matt.
Yeah. Because I did not have a guest today. I had a few, or like one mainly, health issue last week that kept me pretty busy, and things are starting to get busy again. And so I didn't have time to book a guest, but that's okay.
What was it? Are you okay?
Yes, I am fine. I had a stomach issue, a digestive issue, so I had to go see a gastroenterologist, and I had to go a few times because I had to take a COVID test. I had to get an endoscopy. I had to get some medicine, but we're all good. Just a little upset stomach. So hopefully we'll get it all fixed. I'm on some good medicine, good doctor. He'll take care of me, and yeah.
Glad you're better.
Thank you. I'm glad you are glad. And meanwhile, by the way, I am on a very strict diet to heal the stomach lining and all this stuff. And yet I see Matt here. He has his whiskey. He is getting to eat all the cookies he wants.
His whiskey like it's my thing that I always have.
Well, maybe
I have a whiskey tonight.
Okay, well, it's not mine. I can't drink it. For 2 months, I'm on this diet of very bland foods, nothing spicy, no chocolate, no alcohol, no caffeine. Chocolate? I mean, I've been eating a little bit of chocolate, but I'm not supposed to have much chocolate.
Well, I just made chocolate chip cookies. What are you doing about that?
Oh, no, that's fine. Two of those, because it's not like the whole cookie is not dripping in chocolate. It's
okay. You have 2, I have 10.
Yeah. So nothing has changed, but yes, that is a thing. So for today's good news story, I want to talk about Maddy Park. So as many of you know, and if you don't...
Is that in Brooklyn?
That's a person's name.
It was a joke.
Oh, well, I don't... That may be offensive. Okay, so as you all know, and if you don't know now, you know now, there has been a wave of hate crimes against Asian Americans in the United States due to a past presidency and a lot of other racist people implying that they are the cause of the pandemic. So Maddy Park, who is an Asian woman, she launched a campaign to pay for transportation for Asian Americans who were concerned about their safety because of all of the stuff that's been going on, all the hate crimes. So she started this campaign. She bought in $2,000 of her own money to kick this thing off. And within 2 days, they have risen. They have raised
from the dead.
See, this is why you're here. You can help me with my vocabulary. They have raised over $100,000. So if any time there is an Asian American who needs to get to and from somewhere in the city, they just can call in the fund to get a cab ride or an Uber ride or something like that. So that way they're not out on the street likely to get hate crimed.
Hate crimed?
Yeah, it's a verb.
Yeah, I saw that. It's really not great that I read so much news because I'm supposed to react to these stories. But that is a great story. I read it.
No, but you can still have your reaction. You can still say what... That's it? It's just, I like it?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that she kicked it off and then lots of people... I hope the fund continues to grow. It's well needed.
There you go. That's called yes-anding.
Are you putting this in the show notes so other people can contribute?
Ooh, yes. See, this is why we have you on. You can still yes-and. Yes, that is a very good idea that I should do. So... Look in the show notes. Donate some money to Maddy Park's fund.
Yeah, we should put it on our giving list too.
Yeah, I know we should. We should do all that we can to protect our Asian brothers and sisters. We love them. So Matt, since I have you here, I want to talk about a few of the positive, good things that have been happening in our life recently, because there have been a wave of really awesome things. What are some things in your week or two that have happened that you really love going on for yourself?
Well, I got vaccinated thanks to you and your video game thumbs, and you were able to just refresh, and get me an appointment for the next day right after it was approved for 30-year-olds to get vaccinated.
What?
And then...
That sounded so confusing. Okay, so for everyone listening, what happened was in New York, there was a day where people who are over 30, which Matt falls in that group, are allowed to get vaccinated. And on that day, I spent about 40 minutes refreshing, and I was able to get him an appointment for a vaccine for the very next day. And so, yeah, he's already got one shot down, joining me in the Pfizer gang. And then what else happened that you are...
Well, so our whole life has been on hold until we knew... I mean, like, you know, I have just like a stack of to-do lists of like, save for the after we're vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So the first exciting thing we got to do was book a vacation for after we are good to go, 5 weeks after my first vaccination.
Mm-hmm. And that date is?
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, May 5th.
So
we will be fully vaccinated, both of us.
Really going to enjoy that holiday.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the audience what it is, what we're going? You don't have to if you don't want to.
I mean, we're going to an Airbnb upstate in Woodstock. It's super fun. There's a pool and a sauna and a jacuzzi and supposedly a gym. And it's just like this huge renovated barn. And the owner of it's super passionate about it.
It's a really cool place. And I can't wait to go. And it'll be just so... I'm not a very big nature person, but it will be fun to get a little bit of nature since we have not had any nature in over a year.
Yeah, and apparently you can see the stars really well at night.
Oh, I love stars, and I can't wait to see them again.
The reviews talk about like chilling in the hot tub looking up at the stars.
Oh my God, it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait.
There's like 3 or 4 bathtubs, and we plan on bathing in all of them.
Yes, we do, because we are bath people.
My coworker this morning posted she was taking a bubble bath I was going to say for breakfast, in the morning. Isn't that weird?
No, it's not. That's like amazing. How else should you start your day off except for a very nice routine of self-care?
I mean, I'm more impressed than anything, but I'm just like, never seen that.
Also, drop her ad. I want to follow her. Put that coworker on blast. She sounds like an amazing person.
Her name is Brittany Dickey, and she lives in Dallas.
What's her ad?
We'll put it somewhere. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, well, Brittany, if you're listening, you go, girl. Take that bubble bath. First thing when you wake up, start the day relaxed and stress-free.
I was just confused. I'm like more impressed than anything. I'm not judging her. I'm just like, who has the time?
Sure. That's fair. That's a fair question. So any other fun, positive, amazing things that are going on in your life that you are really excited about?
Well, like a 65-year-old man, I booked like 4 doctor's appointments I've been putting off for after vacation. And after vacation and vaccination. And I booked a haircut. Woohoo.
No, speaking of those doctor's appointments, I am actually very, very excited. And that is an amazing, positive thing that I have come to really appreciate in this past week. Between the two of us, we have like a dozen doctor's appointments on the calendar for like the next month. So I do feel like an old man, but I am just so thankful that we, for now, have an amazing insurance and we are able to do all of these appointments and stuff like that, because we were not always in that position. And a lot of people in this country today are not in that position. And so very thankful. It's going to be a fun like 2 weeks there, because I think they're all in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, so if you've been putting anything off, I encourage people to get those doctor's appointments in to make sure they are good to go.
And go ahead and schedule them now, because once people are vaccinated, all those appointments are going to go up, and then you're going to have to wait 6 months to see the dermatologist. You're just going to have to wait.
Dermatologist.
And I'm ready to get that Botox now.
Dentist, eye doctor, physical.
Blood work from the physical.
Oh, well, my dad has started talking to me again after the insurrection, so that's been really great. I prayed about it like pretty hard this weekend, and then I didn't realize till later that the connection to prayer, but like it was like 15 minutes later my dad called me.
Wow.
I know. How weird.
God listens.
So now he talks every day like nothing ever happened.
Well, I don't
He wasn't at the insurrection, just to be clear, but we had a little bit of a falling out after that.
Sure. I don't know if it's better to not talk or better to be talking and act like nothing happened.
It depends on which side you're on. I think if you're on our side, it's okay to pretend like nothing happened and let's just move on. But if you're over there on that side trying to like whitewash your history, maybe you should acknowledge some things.
There we go. That is What You Should Do segment by Matt Tolbert.
I like the title of that.
Another fun thing that I'm starting to get into recently is the upcoming New York City mayoral election. The primary is in June, so all my New Yorker people, be sure to vote. We have ranked choice voting for the very first time in the city. Ranked choice voting for mayor.
I think that's so cool.
It's amazing because that way it's like, even if your number one doesn't win, you still have a say in like who's the number two. And so like if enough people pick that number two and the number one, then they still could win. So you still could be like moderately happy, even though it's like not your number one. I think ranked choice voting is amazing. I think it will only make there be more candidates and hopefully even more parties. And we need that diversity. So it's not just such a bipolar political system that we have.
Also,
wait, bipolar isn't the word. What's the word?
Bipartisan.
I said bipolar. I'm so sorry for.
But not bipartisan. It's partisan.
You know what? This is not a political podcast.
No, but anyway, think about all the parties you get to go to now, and you can just fit in with any group you move along to at the party. You could be like, oh yeah, I voted for him. And then you move around to the other part of the room, they're talking about somebody else, and you're like, oh yeah, I voted for her. And then it's just like you kind of fit in with everybody. You don't have to lie. I don't do that. I just tell people that I did not vote for Trump. But
say that again. I have to bleep that out. Don't say it more so you get bleeped out.
I don't know. Bleeping is funny. Like on Goldberg's, it happens every episode. And
I know.
It's always funny.
No, it's because I remember it was like 8 episodes in of the Goldbergs, the ABC comedy show starring, what's her name?
Wendy McClendon. Chisholm? No, that's a town in Texas.
Wendy McClendon.
McClendon.
Yeah, that's it.
Something like that. Yeah. But
from Reno 911, from Bridesmaids, she's amazing. So I remember the very first time she said the F word, they bleeped it, and then they realized how funny that was. And so every single episode, they have some random, when you least expect it, bleeped out word, and it's just so funny. Anyway, tangent aside, going back to the NYC mayoral candidates election that's going on, Matt, who is your front runner?
I haven't done enough research to really say. I took a quiz, but like I only matched with one person for like 50% of my answers on some of the categories. So I don't feel comfortable saying because I don't know who this person even is.
So I randomly am leaning a little towards Andrew Yang. I wish we had better options, but I think he's okay. I think he would be interesting because he's been in New York State and city for so long. He is so business oriented, which is what like a lot of Republican people would want, is someone who is business oriented, but he's still progressive in like wanting UBI and wanting other aid for the poor. So I feel like he could strike a middle ground with a lot of people. I like that. And he's just so happy and optimistic and fun and positive and great. So like, I would rather have that demeanor than someone who is very aggressive and like attacks other politicians and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've had so little like exposure to even de Blasio that I don't even know how much impact a mayor even has, but
sure. No, but that is a very fair point because as it turns out, and as we've seen with a few mayors in their history, they may not actually have that much effect or be able to get policy through.
You see them when there's a terrorist attack and they make a nice speech, but that's really about it.
Sure. And honestly, I had this discussion with someone in my Instagram DMs today about how like the sad fact of that is I almost look at policy like second to last or last when I'm trying to consider a candidate, because there are so many hurdles they have to jump through to even get their policy through or passed or even brought to the table. And sometimes a lot of those are empty campaign promises anyway. So it's just like, I'm not going to look at your policy because it's only going to be disappointing to me no matter who you are and no matter how much I love what you're doing. I'll look at like the direction of your policy and how you're going. And obviously that'll inform my decision. But right now I'm kind of more into like feeling their vibes.
Wow.
And he's like rarely says anything negative about his opponents. He is currently had press conferences like with a few of his opponents and been like, I support my opponent on this thing. She has a great plan on it. I'm going to vote her number 2 whenever I do go vote. So that's really cool. And like some of the other opponents have like run attack ads on him and stuff like that. So like, I don't like the mudslinging politics. So the less of that we can have, the better.
Totally fair. And while like their policies themselves may not matter as much, like you said, the direction does matter, because even if they are like slinging some sort of rhetoric, they're going to make a type of behavior feel okay to certain groups of people, hence our last president. And you don't want the wrong direction to be gone.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, we don't want wrong direction, which was the evil, bizarro world version of One Direction that One Direction had to fight off to the death. Actually, we're very glad One Direction won. Yes. Matt, have you subscribed and rated and reviewed this podcast? Because you know that really helps out the podcast.
Okay, honestly, yes. But also, okay, first of all, it didn't ask me for my name. And I know some people have gotten to put their name in and choose some name that's not their own name. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I posted it, it was just like blatantly my name. And so that was a little annoying. So maybe change your name if you don't like it before you post it.
Why wouldn't you want your name on my podcast? You didn't want people to know that you like my podcast?
No, it just feels so like I felt like an outsider because everyone else had a cute little like dog lover 27 and I was just like boring with my real name.
Sure. So speaking of reviews, I want to highlight a very special review. If you want your review highlighted, be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and you may get your review read here on the podcast. So this review comes from Now or Never, and it says, "Put me in the best mood. I am so enjoying the energy and snappiness of this podcast. Both guests were super interesting, and I can't wait for what's next."
Wow, that's so sweet.
I know, it's so sweet.
It's now or never.
Oh, Elvis.
Okay, or I'll Shook Up the Musical, but...
Which is Elvis songs.
I know, but...
Okay. Thank you, Now or Never, for that review. That's amazing.
See, I could have had a name like that.
Yeah, that's a very fun name.
Wasn't there something about Broadway recently? Like Andrew Yang related?
Oh, we're circling back to Andrew Yang because Matt remembers something about Broadway. Yes, there was something. Andrew Yang did reveal his Broadway back arts revival plan for the city. He understands that Broadway and theater and live entertainment is the lifeblood of the city. It brings in so much economic activity and revenue. And so he unveiled his plan to bring it back and ramp it back up once we start getting out of the pandemic a bit more.
Smart move. He's going to get so many votes for that.
I know. That's a very smart move. The thing is with his team and his marketing team, they are on it. They are doing a lot of great moves. They know how to get him out there, his face out there. They're really great.
When does the mayoralship start?
I don't know. We have primary in June and we have general election in November. So I'm guessing maybe they do it like the president. Like, does he get inauguration in like February?
I mean, okay, but like, so his plan is, ain't Broadway going to be back by then?
What? This was only supposed to be 2 weeks, Matt.
Nobody believed that.
There are plenty of people who believe that, but we don't know.
Is de Blasio running?
No. Oh, you know what? I actually don't know about that. No, because he's a Democrat, so no, he's not running.
No, he's a Republican.
Let's look it up right now. Why do you think he's a Republican?
Because it's like my one argument to my dad when I'm like, no, actually, we have a Republican mayor.
He is apparently with the Working Families Party.
Okay, but no. What did he run on?
A member of the Democratic Party. He held the office of New York City Public Advocate. I think he ran on Working Families to become mayor, is what the Google is currently telling me.
What am I thinking of?
No, but his Wikipedia says he still is Democrat. So.
All right, I lied. I'm sorry, everybody.
Again, this is not a political podcast, so do not come for us in our political miseducation. If you want a political podcast, might I suggest Abe Lincoln's Top Hat, hosted by Ben Kissel from the last podcast on the left. That is one of my favorite political podcasts. He's very, very moderate. He's really awesome. And he knows his stuff when it comes to politics.
Speaking of, my dad FaceTimed me twice during this interview.
Oh my God, look at that. Another callback
Just
to earlier in the episode.
Oh, I know what I can talk about. So I noticed today that I had a blocked voicemail from Friday morning that was so important. So you know how when you get a call right now and you can silence calls from numbers that aren't saved in your contacts?
Best feature they've ever released. I love it so much. Thank you, Apple.
Okay,
thank you, Tim Apple, for that.
Except, so I got a call from Rhode Island and I was like, cool, don't know that number. I'm also going to block it so they don't call me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then today I noticed I had blocked voicemail. So I went and listened to it. They had called me because I had placed an order. And it's blah, blah, blah. I placed an order and they called to ask a question about the order because I was wondering today why it hadn't shipped. Anyway, so I have to call them back. And they've probably been trying to call me every single day since Friday, but I blocked it. So they haven't been able to even call me or leave a voicemail.
I'm so confused at how the voicemail got blocked because on my phone, whenever I get voicemails, it still shows up that like, hey, there's a voicemail waiting for you.
If you block a number, it'll show up in your blocked voicemails.
Why did you block their number?
Because I block every number that I think is spam.
Oh, so you mean like they called and they didn't leave a voicemail and then they called and so you blocked it and then they called again and left a voicemail?
I'm not really sure of the order of events here.
Yeah, still sounds like you got into some weird murkiness there on your end.
Maybe it goes there when you have a silence.
Okay, so moral of the story is the silence feature from the iPhone is amazing for cutting out the spam calls, but be wary. You should check your voicemails. You should check your blocked voicemails because apparently that's a thing. I didn't know that was a thing. Do you think I have blocked voicemails from people?
2,000%.
Oh my God, Broadway. You should have sent an email. I would have done your show.
That's what I'm saying. I ordered this stupid thing online. I didn't call you to place the order. So why don't you online me back to ask a question about it?
Online you back? That is the whiskey talking. He said, why don't you online me back?
No, I mean, I chose that word on purpose.
Zoom is online. Would you rather they have Zoomed?
No, because I didn't Zoom them to place the order.
Okay, cool. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to the episode. Hopefully, you guys are having an amazing week. I do have an amazing guest lined up for next week. Thank you for hanging out with me and Matt, talking about where we are at right now, all the positive and fun things going on with us and what we're working towards. And remember to give to Maddy Park. Show notes for the link. And also, if you are in New York, get involved with New York politics. Our mayor is going to be someone who is very influential, and we want one that we love and that we think is going to be good. So learn your candidates, vote in the primary, vote in the general election in November, and let's knock it out of the park. Thank you.
If you live
guys.
in New York City.
Yes, if you live in New York. Well, that's what I said. All my New Yorkers. If you live in New York City. Yeah. And as always, guys, keep sweet.